We are now going to call the meeting of the Board of Fair Commissioners to order. At this point, I would like to welcome you to the Tuesday, August 9th, 4 o'clock meeting, and hopefully we will be able to get through all of our business in a reasonable time. I'm going to go ahead and read your legal notice as information for our audience. If you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metro Board of Fair Commissioners today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. I'm going to take the liberty at this point of welcoming our newest Fair Board Commissioner, Anthony Owens, to our little group here, and I'm going to give you just a second or two to address the board if you'd like.
Thank you for that. It's my pleasure to be here and be of service to this board and to the Fairgrounds, and I'm going to just enjoy my first meeting and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're glad to have you. We're going to move to the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes as received.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. We are now going to move to public comment time. Please know that when you speak, we will be limiting to 2 minutes per person. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. I do want to ask for a motion to suspend the rules in order to allow Trey Walker, who is the Chief Development Officer for WeGo, to move to the head of the line so that we can help him address some childcare issues. And so if we can have a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Trey, if you'd like to come up. And I'm going to turn the floor over to Laura.
Thank you. We have been working on an agreement with MTA for some time now. This is part of our Fair Park Phase 2 development. This has always been contemplated that we would have an improved WeGo transit stop on Nolensville. Right now, it's in pretty sad shape, and it's pretty small, and there's not really a good access pathway from the current WeGo stop to our entrance, and so we want to remedy that, both from this project and improving the bus stop, but also as we continue to do our Fair Park Phase 2. And so what you have in your packets is an MOU that will give MTA the ability to come in and make improvements to that stop, both right at the stop and then some access to the stop, and also be able to maintain it over time.
I will entertain a motion on the floor to open discussion, to discuss the memo of understanding and accept that. Do I hear a second and a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we open up discussion regarding this memorandum of understanding with MTA.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Trey, I'm going to ask that you just give us a brief synopsis, if you will, at this point.
Absolutely, and thank you again for hearing me early this afternoon. I appreciate it. As Laura mentioned, we've worked with the Fairgrounds team for quite a while now in planning improvements to the stop on Nolensville Pike. We improved a series of stops along Nolensville Pike about 2 years ago originally envisioned the Fairgrounds stop pair to be as part of that project. So the project, when we were going through funding and allocating grants to the project, we actually secured funding during that push, knowing that this stop would develop late. This stop pair would develop later due to the development taking place on the Fairgrounds. And so in working with the Fairgrounds development team in concert with Laura, we were able to provide the MOU that's in front of you. And essentially, we'll be providing an improved stop pair near the current location where the stops are right now in front of the old Walsh Road driveway. The outbound location, as noted in the MOU, will be split between Metro right-of-way and Fairgrounds property, utilizing about 2,100 square feet of Fairgrounds property for the boarding area of the stop itself. In that space, we have contemplated in our design a connection to the Fair Park Phase 2 pedestrian network, which will then connect the remaining destinations on the Fairgrounds property for pedestrians. And we'll be improving the corner of Wingrove Avenue for ADA improvements as well. Across the street, there will be a stop coming at a later date, but we are looking to improve that and stay within Metro right-of-way for the improvement of that stop. So the agreement that's in front of you, essentially outlining responsibilities, WEGO's responsibilities would be to design, construct, and maintain the outbound stop with the Fairgrounds cooperation and the agreement to utilize 2,100 square feet of property.
Thank you for that explanation. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Walker?
I have some questions, but they're probably more for Ms. Womack than Mr. Walker. First question, and thank you, number one, for the explanation, very helpful. This MOU, do we expect there to be any budget or operational impact to the operations of the fairgrounds, in your opinion?
No, I see us, mowing around it like we do today, and no. The MOU does contemplate MTA taking responsibility for ongoing maintenance.
And our maintenance strategy for sheltered stopped and improved stops within our network, we have 2 sets of crews, a trash crew that'll come by about every 3 days on average, and a pressure washing crew that pressure washes all of our sheltered stops on about a 3-month rotation.
Just to make sure I understand, I think I understood your description that this will connect to both the sidewalk fronting Nolensville Road as well as the future pedestrian walkways in Fair Park Phase 2, that's correct?
That's correct. We're going to essentially rebuild the sidewalk from Wingrove to Walsh Road and then provide a connection between the sidewalk to the future pedestrian connection.
And last question, thank you, Madam Chairman, is has Metro Legal reviewed and approved or provided an opinion on this MOU? Is any issues from Metro Legal's point of view?
I was not personally involved in the review of the MOU, but I know it was reviewed by Metro Legal.
Any more questions?
No, thank you.
Great. Any other commissioner have a question, comment?
My only addition to what you asked was, I'm assuming if there are any kind of electrical or any other expenses, that it would be WEGO that would be covering that?
That's correct. Okay. And currently we plan to utilize solar power shelters at this location.
Awesome, thank you.
And I have one question.
Yes.
Just quickly trying to review this. When is the projected start time and how long do you anticipate this taking place?
We're near wrapping up design for our piece for the bus stop boarding platform and the sidewalk along Nolensville Pike. From there, we'll submit it to Metro for permitting, and from there, we'll solicit for bids. So we're probably looking at another 3 to 4 months of permitting review and bidding operations with the idea to build this winter. All told, we would like to be fully operational for the next season of soccer games.
Thank you.
I'd like to have another comment. So one of my concerns with this will be the park and any kind of events that we have. So you mentioned every 3 days we'll be cleaning that stop. My assumption is those cans will be pretty full after each event. So I wonder if we've thought through any major event and the impact to the rest of the week, and who's going to be doing that.
we can add notes as we continue to service stops and provide more frequent servicing as needed.
Thank you.
And I have, oh, please.
Well, to his point, it might be helpful if you have access to our schedule, and then the two schedules can be coordinated so that Laura and her staff don't have to run anybody down all the time.
Absolutely.
Director Womack, do you anticipate any impact to the schedule of Fair Park Phase 2 by this construction?
I don't. This will be done first. And I also will mention, similarly to how we run our MOU with Fair Park Phase 1 and Metro Parks, if we see a trash can that's full, we're going to empty it. So, I wouldn't wait for us to get MTA out there to empty a trash can. So if we see it, we're definitely going to take care of it as well. It's kind of our cooperative duty to keep it clean.
Yeah, and that's what, Director, that's what I assumed. I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that we're aware of that, and that as long as we're okay knowing that, my assumption is that will happen, and as long as we continue to monitor it, I think that, just wanted to make sure we
Yep.
noted that. Thank you.
Okay, I will now entertain a motion to accept the MOU of understanding between the Fairgrounds and MTA. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, we're going to move ahead to monthly reports, and I will call on Satrice to bring us up to date on the financial.
Hello, everyone. The financial information presented today is preliminary. Our revenue and expenses for June and July 2022 may not have been recorded to the ledgers as of August 8th, 2022, when this report was created. So we're going to do two financial reports this month. The preliminary actuals through June 2022 are as follows. Revenue is approximately $2,413,293. We received a Metro subsidy of $779,900. Expenditures are around $3,142,523, resulting in a net gain of approximately $50,669. Depreciation expense is $1,260,766. So the total net loss is roughly $1,210,097. Below, you will find an itemized list of our revenues and expenses. Our top three revenue sources, excluding the subsidy, are flea market booth rent, expo building rentals, and other. Flea market booth rent is around $401,000, which represents 17% of our total revenue. Expo building rentals is roughly $413,274, which is 17%. Other, which is CDBG grant, rent for mixed use, advertising, sponsorships, fees, and interest, is $896,578, which is 37% of our total revenue. Our top three expenses are payroll, utilities, and insurance/LOCAP. LOCAP stands for Local Cost Allocation Plan. Essentially, those are costs allocated for the services that we use for HR, general services, ITS, and finance. Payroll expense is approximately $1,342,916, which is 43% of our total expenses. Utilities expense is $475,800, which is 15%. Insurance permits LOCAP expense is $412,155 of our total expenses. The books for FY22, which was last fiscal year, has not closed. They have not closed, and they typically close at the end of December. So do we have any questions about last fiscal year?
do you have a question?
I do have one question. Would it be possible to get for my information a roll-up similar to this, but for the entire last fiscal year? Just after this meeting, I'd just like to look at it as I'm new to the board. Thank you.
So Teresa, if you don't mind sharing that with everybody, because we've got mostly new folks, and I
Of
think that
course.
would help. Thank you. Okay, just a side note, when we have our mics on all at the same time, it's causing feedback. So what I'm going to ask is that we keep our mics off unless you wish to speak. And then when we have something for a vote, I'll call on each one of you to present your vote so that we don't have open mics and feedback.
Okay. Moving to FY '23, which is this fiscal year. Before I go over the reports, I would like to mention a few budget highlights. Metro Council approved $84,400 in additional funding for our baseline operations, which is essentially utilities and security services. They also approved for us to have $1,198,000 for the divisional fair, which will be held in September. We also received $177,600 in salary and fringe for pay plan and equity adjustments. So the reports for July look a little different. You will see that there are no budgets, and that's because the budget hasn't been finalized and uploaded into our accounting system, so I have just presented the year-to-date totals. The preliminary actuals through July 2022 are as follows. Revenue is $201,093. Expenditures are around $171,561, resulting in a net gain of approximately $29,500. Depreciation expense is zero, so the total net gain is $29,500. Below, you will find an itemized list of our revenue and expenses. The categories of the revenue have changed in an effort to simplify and streamline the information. So instead of presenting the financial information as far as revenue by types, we've decided to group them by classification. So all of the revenue for flea market is grouped together, all of the revenue for corporate sales events is grouped together, all the revenue for racetrack is grouped together, so on and so forth. So for flea market, we have collected around $46,441,000, which is 23% of total revenue. Corporate sales events is roughly $140,734. Racetrack is about $13,000, and that's about 6.5% of our total revenue. Our top three expenses are payroll, purchased services. Purchased services are things like medical services, uniform rentals, consulting, advertising, rent equipment. The other expense is insurance/LOCAP. So payroll expense is $48,184, which represents 28% of our total expenses. Purchase service expense is $27,400, which is 16%. Insurance permits and LOCAP is $74,090, which is 43% of our total expenses. Do remember that all revenue and expenses have not posted to the ledgers as of yet. For the month of August 2022, our projected revenue is approximately $163,900. We anticipate collecting 27% of our revenue from flea market, 66% of our revenue from corporate sales events, 6% from racetrack, 1% from advertising sales. On our agent report this month, we have $63,359,000 in outstanding invoices. However, all of the promoters have been contacted and invoiced, so we anticipate receipt of those payments soon. This concludes the financial report. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Anthony?
For the combining of corporate sale events from the previous revenue report, what would all that include? Would that be expo buildings and
So on the previous report, it would include the expo buildings, part of parking, part of concessions, part of, that's it, part of those things. So that's why we decided to group them by classifications, because we were taking pieces from parking, pieces from concessions, and I thought it would be better to know what each category or classification was bringing in.
Okay. Thank you.
And also-
Anybody? Go ahead.
And also to that, if you look on the dashboard for July, you would see that for revenue collected by classification, that's all grouped together, flea market, corporate sales, and racetrack. However, revenue collected by type shows you, of those groupings, this is where the money came from by type. So event space represents 46% of our total revenue collected, which is $93,300.
Anybody have any other questions? Commissioner Hartley?
Yes, Ms. Allen, thank you for this report. It's very helpful. To make sure I understand, Commissioner Owens, to follow on his question, the dashboard showing revenue collected by classification sort of breaks it down by each event, while revenue collected by type is sort of breaking it down by the type of service the Fairgrounds is providing. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Okay. And when you provide the roll-up of last year's financials, can you provide, you don't have to provide that, but just if we can see some, you include the dashboards that you included, to the extent you have them already prepared for last year, if you can include them when you send them over, that would be very helpful.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to events update. Thank you so much, Therese. And I'll call on Director Womack.
All right, I have just some general things, and then I would love to be able to turn it over to our fair staff. They're going to give you an update and a preview of the Nashville Fair. First off, I do want to talk a little bit about rent relief, because I do know that there has been some questions from some of our commissioners about the status of the rent relief grant program. And I am happy to say that we have processed over almost 170 applications. So we have opened that up. Applications are going extremely well. Pathway is turning them around very quickly as well, and we are starting to apply those credits to vendors' reservations for August. I think overall it's gone very well. There's a couple little, glitches here and there that we're working through just for timing. But I think overall, knowing that we had to coordinate, our internal processes with the booking process, but we also had to reconcile all the accounting that goes along with it, plus the contractual relationship between us and our third-party lender. It was a lot of work, and so far so good. And I think that, we'll tackle any, glitches moving forward as soon as we can. Our ultimate goal is to get as many vendors approved now, before August, so that they can have all the way till next July to use their rent relief funds. And we do anticipate new vendors joining in. I know personally I have approved several new vendors, and we're getting people back. I just approved a new vendor who hadn't been here since 2011, but heard about the program and wanted to come back. So, it's a handful right now, but I do anticipate that growing. We've got some returning vendors who have not been back since COVID, and that was our intent all along. That was why we worked so hard to get that program up and running, is to hopefully provide them some relief and give them some financial incentive for returning to the market. So we're really encouraged that we're going to see an investment in a rebound back to the market. So anyway, good news there. I will say too that I can't say enough how much I appreciate the efforts of every single staff member that we have here at the Fairgrounds. July was the busiest event month since I've started. As far as the volume of people that we had, we have almost 35,000 people through our doors in 30 days. We had, I think, 2 days, 3 days off, and I don't mean off in that we didn't have anything to do, but we didn't have other people in the building with us doing events. So I just wanted to thank staff for all their efforts. As a result, while we don't have all of the revenue booked yet, but we are already 117% to plan for July. So it's a testament to how hard they worked to get events turned over. And there were many a late night tearing down one event just to set up for another one that was moving in the next day. So thank you to all the staff for your really hard work and the extra hours that you put in. The only other thing that I'll mention is that I am going to be one of the co-chairs this year of the Metro Makes a Difference Employee Giving Campaign. So we are going to be launching that in September. That program runs through September 19th through November 5th. And that is something that, you know, we have participated in here at the Fairgrounds, but just wanted to know that we're going to take a little bit more of a leadership role over the next 2 years with that campaign. And I would like to turn it over to Mr. Jones to give you a preview of the fair, but I also wanted to introduce Melissa. Melissa is our new event services coordinator with the fair. Yay. Hi, Melissa.
While Mr. Jones is getting this passed out, I just wanted to commend your leadership, Director Womack, on the employee giving campaign. And to the extent I'm eligible, I want to go ahead and pledge to participate in that.
All right, thank you. Well, I just, those are hot off the press, just went over to pick those up. That's the beauty of the first fair, and of course, everything is being designed. You know, we got a new logo. We even got the best website in the country. It's a .fund, so that we're the first fair that's a .fund. So we decided that. Laura pushed me over the edge on the idea of that. I was had a little cautious about it, but she was like, I think that's exactly what we are, is fun. So we're looking forward to it. So go to nashfair.fun. The website's changing daily. We're keeping it updated and adding events. Things are just moving very quickly with the fair. Of course, on the back of your IDs that we just handed out, there's a couple events that are wanting to make sure that you have those in front of you, which is Opening Ceremonies on September 9th. We'd like to have you there. We'll have an ice cream social over in Expo 1, which we will rebrand for the fair as our activity hall. So we'll have that, and then we'll go out to the courtyard for our opening ceremonies. Thursday night, we will have our celebrity milking. We call it a celebrity. What we've done is every year, for years, it's been a tradition here with our TV partners. They come out and we partner them with different folks to milk a cow. So I'm hoping our chair will be able to be here to do that. That would, I've been voluntold sometimes myself, but no, I'm just playing, but that's awesome. Thank you.
And I did get voluntold, but it's okay. I'm game.
It's going to be a great night. I encourage the members to come out and cheer your chair on, because that'll be an awesome night. Because the news media, they love to come out and participate. They kind of take a little bit, you know, that we partner each person with one. So we will have working on a player to represent the soccer. We'll look a racer, and we have a council member that we're working on. So we'll have, I think it'll be a nice set of group of folks to get under there and see how much milk they can get. But as far as the fair, we are excited. We've got a lot of things planned. Sponsorships kicking off. Wish we could have got a little earlier start on that, but with the timeline and things. But I want to thank Commissioner Hendrick for getting us on a lead with Amazon, and we've got a meeting scheduled later this week with Amazon. We've got the Nashville Soccer Club coming in to sponsor. We're excited about that. Of course, this right here, we'll be having, there's a track right above your head. It's got some chain right there hanging. There's going to be a theatrical curtain. So during the fair, this will be our arena, our events arena. So we will have multiple events, ticketed events in this side of this building throughout the fair. We will have dinner shows 3 nights. We will have sporting events, MMA, wrestling. So we're excited about having those events in here. And then, of course, this side of the building be more community events and marketplace. And then when you get into the middle building, Expo 2, that will be the creative arts and our Davidson County 4-H butterfly exhibit. And then we move into Expo 1, which we rebrand the activity hall. And that will have our showcase of the animals in there as far as the show ring for livestock. We'll have tiny acres. We'll have a dairy bar inside. That'll be a great thing to be able to come and get a glass of milk. And also we'll have dairy shows throughout the fair. So we're much excited. Of course, we anticipate a lot more of this construction to get done, a little antsy, but as things come along, it's going to work out and we're going to have a great fair. Any questions? No?
Y'all come on down and watch me milk a cow.
Yes. Well, thank you very much and look forward to having y'all attend. And if you have any questions, just call Laura, the director there. I'm just playing. I'm available anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Melissa, welcome. We're a lot of fun to have around. We're glad to have you. I'll now turn this over to the Executive Director's report. Director Womack.
I feel like I jumped the gun because my report was primarily the rent relief, so I absolutely jumped the gun, so I have nothing to add.
Then I'll say moving right along, we will move right along into old business. And we have any questions?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
Can I
I'm
have
sorry.
one question on Director Womack's report? You know, you mentioned it in your report, but even looking forward in August into September, I see maybe 4 open dates. So, you know, as we're moving into the fall, obviously you've got a lot of events going in here, so commendation to the staff, your staff and yourself for getting that going. Do you see any concerns about the volume of events and any impact on the infrastructure of the fairgrounds or staff workload that's not manageable in that time period? And as a second question, if you do see that, I would just suggest or ask if you've considered sort of prioritizing events, which is one of the reasons I asked about a breakdown by event type for last year's revenue, just to sort of focus on the higher revenue events. But just wanted to get your comments on that.
We have had some turnover in our event staff, and I do want to commend Carla. She's hiding in the back. I haven't gotten her up here yet, but she's very much looking at just that. You know, one of our goals, one of our 6 goals that we set for FY23 to help bridge the gap between our revenue projections and our projected expenses was to recruit more regional and national shows, and we are doing that. The other thing that we wanted to concentrate on is activating the building during the weekdays, because traditionally they were empty Monday through Wednesday for sure. Thursday oftentimes was load in, but we're looking at our scheduling strategy to partner up smaller events and group them, things that would naturally complement one another, and they can feed off a same or similar customer base without directly competing. It would be more of a collaborative scheduling, so that is going really, really well. But we have been very successful at looking at those larger events. We have had some events that we've partnered with White Door or Liberty companies that do event setup. We've also looked at supplementing our staff because of workload. We are a very small staff, and so we do have some partner agencies that are able to come in and assist us with turning buildings over if we have a really short turnaround. So we are looking at being more efficient in how we set things up, but I will say, again, it's a testament to our maintenance and operations staff. They're very thoughtful about how and things are set up and how quickly they can turn things over to maximize the time available to us.
Any other questions or comments before I move on?
I just had a quick question.
Commissioner.
This will be about parking. Do you foresee any parking situations like around the fair? Actually, I should have asked that earlier. That we see with some of our other events?
We have been obviously very busy in our parking. We've been able to accommodate with, granted, a lot of effort, but it always is a lot of effort, and, to get people in and get them to our events on a timely, and safe manner. So we've accommodated that, and we will continue to do that. For large events, we always look at options, see if there's partnerships available with Fall Hamilton, and of course, 50 Ford has been awesome. And we have worked really good with soccer, so it hasn't been an issue to date, even with our larger events.
Any more questions or comments from the board? Okay, we will move along now to old business, and I'll call on Ron, or not, to come on up for Fairgrounds Improvement Project, Mixed Use and Infrastructure Update. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Also, board and council and staff, good to see you again. It feels like it's been a really long time. It feels like it's been a couple months, but I think we just missed one meeting. And of course, welcome Commissioner Owens. It's really good to follow, all the great conversation about the fair and the events, because that's the reason that we're here and the reason that we spent the funds we did to build the building. So really excited about that. But I will be talking about budget, so I'm sorry to kind of bring us down off of that high of fun and milking cows and all the things that are coming. But I will try to be as exciting as possible. I'll start by saying that you should have in your packets 2 dashboards. One, if in color, one will be blue and then one will be green. I'll start with the blue one regarding the Fairgrounds improvement projects and starting off with the expo space.
Christy, do we have that? It's not in the pocket. Go ahead, if you'll go ahead and just
Yeah, absolutely.
run through this with us, and then after the meeting, if you'll just send those to us, and if we have any questions, we'll address them again at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I'll probably give a little more detail maybe than usual, just so everyone's following along. But on the chart, being specific to the expo building itself, we're at 99% of funds expended there. Obviously, we've been in the building for a little while. The majority of funds that are remaining are allocated currently to FF&E and some other work that will help improve the function of the space. But that funding and allocation has been largely expensed to this point. We do have another project under the Fairgrounds improvement projects that's very active. The multi-purpose building or the maintenance space in that area. We're still progressing along on that project. As far as funds expended to date, we're at approximately 70 to 72% of that project being expended. Funds there are still continuing as our contractor works to enclose the space, and we have some additional some site improvement and site work for the space before it's prepared for occupancy. But in that area, we're in good budget shape. We don't see any impact or any need for funds outside of what's already allocated. So a great report there as we push forward with that project. The other projects that are on that sheet are reflective of work that's been done on the campus previous, demolition work, work on the grandstands, and then some of a catch-all bucket that's related to some of the early work on the site. And none of those projects had any movement from the last budgetary presentation. But I think all in all, still overall healthy budget each item that I mentioned, except for the very early packages, does have a small amount of contingency we feel appropriate for getting those projects completed. So just want to make sure that all of the commissioners understand that we're in a healthy budget position for those projects.
Thank you so much. You can also get these from your email on your phones from the previous. Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No. And again, if I know you don't have it in front of you, but if there aren't specific questions there, I'll pick up and discuss the Fair Park dashboards. We've segregated those into Fair Park Phase 1, which is the initial park phase, again, completed and operational for several months now. There is a line item in that budget that's remaining. There's been no activity there. The intent for those funds is to be combined with the Phase 2 to make sure that we're able to have all the funds appropriate for completing that project. As far as Fair Park Phase 2, our expenses to date are at about 3% of that total budget, so very much in the opening era of that project. We have had our first expenses hit the construction line item. Some of our early meetings and pre-construction has begun there. But that line item is not even at 1% yet, so a long way to go. We do have design dollars that are about 22% in that line item, project management at about 18%. And as that project picks up, the construction will catch up very quickly as we start to expend those dollars.
Anybody have any questions at this point? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Ron?
Thank you. Just to introduce everybody, since we do have new commissioners and others, Ed Henley is with Pillars Development Company. They're partners with our firm, GHP, and we're the program managers for the projects around the fairgrounds and the ones we're going to be talking about today. Also, we've got Allison Poland, who's new to our firm. She's working with us and fitting in quite nicely, so we're making moves in that direction. Ed mentioned Phase 2 of Fair Park and Part 2 of the infrastructure project. Those projects are being analyzed. We're doing a lot of coordination with WEGO and others on projects around it. In the meantime, we're fighting the insanity of inflation that we're all having to deal with in the construction industry. I have several decades in the industry, and I've never seen anything like what's going on right now. Of course, Nashville is an extremely busy place, and getting competitive bids and getting those things is very difficult. So we're working with Laura and her team on trying to find the best options on how to proceed with those projects. The multipurpose building that Ed mentioned, that you won't hear much of this nowadays, but we bought that out about a year ago, and it came in well under budget, so we're able to expand some of the work into there and make it available. So that process is going on. Plus, codes tied our occupancy to that on the infrastructure project. So we're hoping to get that wrapped up in the next month or so. The infrastructure project, all the road work, sewer work, things that you're seeing here on Wedgwood and Benton is a Sports Authority project, but that is scheduled to be completed at the end of this month, except for the landscaping. Landscaping is being deferred. Obviously, you don't want to plant trees in the middle of August and, have them die immediately. So that landscaping will probably be done in September and October. But other than that, the roads availability, Scott, I know, is interested in using some of that, so he's right on our heels. So as we'll be moving out all this work you're seeing here on the road work, he'll be coming in with the fair. Remind everybody there's an Arts Commission project. There's going to be a substantial piece of artwork located out here as part of the Arts Commission. We're now into the weeds on how to make that work. It's being ran by the Arts Commission, but we're coordinating that, and it'll be located, the main piece will be located right out here in that little oval area, and it's going to be quite special. It's going to be something very, very nice. The mixed-use project, which is the project up on top of the hill or between here and between the Speedway and the stadium, that project is, we're coordinating with them. That's being ran by the Market Street Enterprises. They're the developers. But we're working with them. They've got essentially most of their below ground work done, and they're going to be going vertical in the next month. So we've been working closely with them. So when there's a race or other fairgrounds events, we're working with them on schedules, and they've been very good to work with. And Laura and her staff have been very accommodating, and like I said, everybody's worked well together. We've got a lot of different contractors on the job, on the site, and they've all done a better job than I would have anticipated of everybody getting along. So that's the overview. Any questions?
One question. So I think I understand you to say that the road work will be complete in time for the fair, and I believe Director Womack, you told me those roads will be closed through the fair, but then open for transit through the fairgrounds after the fair. Is that still the timeline?
It is. We didn't want to confuse, the vehicular traffic by opening it up for a day or two and then shutting it down right away for fair load-in. So we just decided that it's probably best to keep it closed to vehicular traffic. However, we're going to be using the roads certainly for pedestrian access to facilitate certainly soccer games throughout that time as well. And then we're going to go immediately from the fair to flea market. So as soon as flea market's over, I anticipate then that following Monday will be a grand opening on the road and have a new normal here for that being a new connection for the community and for us as well to utilize for events.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. We are now going to move to Bristol Motor Speedway update, and I will call on Director Womack, please.
I will say that it's similar update as we had last month. We continue to work with Bristol, with administration through, discussions. Certainly we're optimistic that we're going to be moving forward with a proposal shortly.
Anybody have any questions for Director? Seeing none, we'll move on. We are going to ask a representative from NIAC to come to the table, and that would be former Commissioner Bergeron.
Hey, good afternoon, Commissioners. Just a couple items for you. We didn't have a Fair Board meeting, of course, in July. So I did want to go back to the SRX racing weekend that was held in July and just briefly note that the totality of the evening, once we got through the whole thing, was a little bit of a late night. I think it finally got over a little after 11 p.m. if I've heard all the details correctly, and that happens, and there's weather, of course. But there have also been a few instances in the recent year where Friday night has edged a little late as well. Of course, that's supposed to be over by 9 p.m. And the only reason I raise these few things is, I just would hate to see those characterized necessarily as the norm. The status quo and what the contract requires. The racing contract is, 9 race weekends out of the year. Qualifying is on Fridays. It ends at 9 p.m. We've been a bit frozen because of COVID and a lack of an RFP process as to the curfews on Saturday night. Bob Sargent's done a fabulous job ending early. But I would love to see that get updated as it was intended to. The contract you guys continue to operate under was only supposed to be a 1-year contract. I know that because I negotiated it. And so, there could be a little more update there if you guys would go through that process. But all in all, I just want to reiterate what is the sort of the status quo and the norm, because unfortunately SMI and the mayor's office in their talks have mischaracterized what the status quo is a lot. They would say things, well, this is how it is done now. And I'd say, guys, that's not correct. So just reminder of that. When SRX goes late, it is sort of a one-off thing. SMI is going to be asking you for no curfews and no limits on things. And they're going to say, well, we did it for SRX. Well, that was a one-off thing, that just to sort of level set and baseline set. And of course, would be thrilled to have you talk with myself and other NEAC members about the baselines that exist now and what works really well and what doesn't as you guys start to head in that direction. On a related note, it's the same thing I always talk about, which is a call for transparency. You know, it's now August of 2022. In spring of 2021, there were a series of community meetings with neighborhood groups. And neighborhood groups, they tried to get any details they could out of SMI's representatives about this idea to build an entirely new speedway on top of the old one. I, as a commissioner, attended many of those meetings, and the groups were all promised, hey, you're gonna get all these details and all this clarity at the May 2021 public hearing. And of course, we know how that went. It came and went, and there were just some renderings given. So now we're a year and a half later. All we know is that the bond amount proposed for this may be as much as $100 million, up from $75 million, for a new speedway that nobody knows how much it's going to cost. And we're living in what Ron Gobble calls one of the most inflationary construction environments in history. So, you know, we need more public conversation. I would just implore this Fair Board to start public conversations immediately about the potential community impact of whatever this proposal might be. You know, even before details are released, if they're ever released, there must be an opportunity for the community to see drafts, see financial models, and be able to ask real questions of SMI that SMI should have to answer, and answer to the community. That for years, this mayor's office and SMI have dodged and weaved. They've avoided questions from me, from former Commissioner McAnally, from all other commissioners, from the public. And it seems very evident that whenever this deal is announced, they're going to try to run it through as fast as possible with as little questioning as possible. You have the power to make sure that doesn't happen as commissioners. Please commit to transparency. And if any commissioners would like to talk about what real comprehensive financial and community impact protections look like, I'm available. NEAC members are available to talk about that with you all. I think that would be a great use of the Fair Board's time. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, former Commissioner. Okay, seeing no more business, I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn the meeting for today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you so much. All in favor, I will call on Commissioner Howla.
Yes. Hey.
Commissioner? Commissioner?
Aye.
Commissioner?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.